Hey, how you going? So good to see you.
Hi, okay. Yeah, thanks. I'm going okay.
That's
Little
good.
bit, yeah.
You made it in okay?
Yeah, I did.
Good
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. So, I know when you booked your initial appointment, our receptionist sent you out information pack with our confidentiality agreement.
Yeah.
Did you have any questions around that? Did you get a chance to look through it?
I had a relatively good look at it.
Okay.
And yeah, got to understand that, yeah, what gets said here just basically stays here.
Absolutely.
Unless it's life-threatening, is that right? So like
Yes.
the suicidal stuff, or that I was
Yeah.
going to harm myself or another person, that's when you would reach out to
That's
something
it.
else.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's just my duty of care to you, and just if I have any reason to believe you're at danger to yourself or another person, if there's suspected child abuse or neglect,
Yeah.
or of course if anything is subpoenaed for the court system, and that would be the only time our confidentiality would be broken. So it is a
Yeah.
safe space to speak.
Thanks.
And I'm really glad you came in today.
Yeah.
So I suppose we'll start if you could tell me a little bit about what's been going on for you.
So it was about 12 months ago that I separated with my wife.
Yep.
It's not an excellent separation. I haven't really dealt with it or coped, and I'm still trying to find understanding around why we broke up. It just kind of keeps rattling around, like why would she leave me so quickly and suddenly, and just haven't really got any peace around that at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm hearing that sounds quite difficult, just all those unresolved
Yeah, and that's,
emotions.
you could say that, unresolved.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So could you tell me a little bit about what happened in the lead up to any kind of incidences you noticed that occurred that maybe, you didn't notice at the start of the relationship, but issues that began to form coming up towards the end of the relationship?
Well, and this, I guess this is why it's so confusing and hasn't had any closure, is that I didn't really see any major issues with the relationship. I thought it was going well. The marriage, I thought it was okay.
Okay.
But my wife said that I was a jealous person, controlling. I've got anger issues. So, and that was just lumped on me. Like there was never really any discussions around those topics.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden she's just like, dumped all that stuff on me, and
Yeah.
I just, where did that come from? So then it's left me,
So you feel you were a bit blindsided, you thought
Yeah,
things were going well, and there was no real...
maybe not well, but like definitely didn't think it was gonna break down.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you said you didn't think it was going 100% well, can you maybe tell me a little bit more about some issues that you might have experienced that indicated to you that it wasn't going as well as you thought it?
Well, so like the anger side of things were that I was getting more and more irritated around that. So like I like to have pretty consistent and a home that's very consistent. So have dinner at 6, have shower at 7, getting ready for sleep like later in the night.
Yeah.
Whereas my wife at the time was a bit more spontaneous, or like wouldn't agree to adhere to those kind of that schedule kind of thing. So and like there was always suspicions that I found anyway, like she was never really telling me the full story. I always felt like she had something to hide, and then that provoked the jealousy of like what's going on. I don't feel part of her life when she's been so secretive, and it
Okay.
would provoke jealousy, and then thereafter I become a little bit frustrated and angry. So
Yeah.
yeah, and then
Right. Okay. So I'm hearing, you know,
so
you.
it wasn't anything in particular as such. It was just an accumulation of those things, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of had the idea of just having these conditions of a nice routine, and that began to cause a bit of conflict in the relationship, and it sounds like things started to get strained, and maybe communication wasn't as clear as it could be. So I suppose I'm just wondering, you know, these behaviors that you have, they sound like they're not really contributing to your life. Am I right in saying that do you feel there needs to be a change there? And just in terms of you know, the feelings of jealousy and.
Well, yeah, I don't like having those feelings.
Yeah.
But they definitely come up. They don't present themselves if I'm not in a relationship or in that marriage.
Okay.
So, which is unusual, and so I just think it's her. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have that, and unless I'm in that relationship,
Yeah.
and so it's not me, it's her.
Yes.
So, but even though we've separated, I don't want us to break down, but I don't also want to have those feelings. So yes,
Yeah.
but I don't think I'm the only one that needs to change. She needs to change.
Yes. Okay. I understand.
Yeah.
And
I think she needs to change more than I do, honestly.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. And just going back to your, as you said, these behaviors that you have yourself, where do you think they originate from? What do you think kind of drives these kind of, because it sounds, and correct me if I'm wrong, you know, maybe just focusing a lot on the relationship and the routine, and is there a lot of things that you kind of do for yourself to keep yourself, I suppose things that you enjoy and you have separate from the marriage, that you engage in?
No, not really. So I guess that's where it fails for me, is that my enjoyment is having a peaceful, loving, so to speak, loving relationship,
Yeah.
loving house,
Yeah.
and that's where I receive joy.
Yes.
So I don't really have that individual joy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, I guess, just even saying that, it creates that pressure within that relationship. So yeah, or potential pressure.
Yeah, and I suppose when we put all our emphasis on happiness in one area of our life and it doesn't go very well, it can kind of compound that stress because we don't have a lot of other outlets. I'm wondering, has there ever been a time in relationships in the past where you haven't felt like this, where you felt comfortable and not maybe?
No, not really.
No.
It's always been like that.
Okay.
Like that I know of. Like even, most relationships I have, I would say I have to be controlled. Like it's in a controlling environment, it's my terms.
Yeah.
Like if I feel uncomfortable, I leave. I don't really talk it out or
Yeah.
quite scary and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's really good that you're acknowledging these things, because that's the first step to be able to tackle them and make a positive change for the better. Because as you've expressed, you do want to change and do want happier relationships and to have more peace within yourself. So that there's no origin you can think, or no triggering point.
Well, it just seems like automatic response like that, and I've learned that kind of like I've learned it, I guess, from my mum and dad. Like that's how they brought me up.
Okay.
In yeah.
Well, what we
I
might
guess
do
I
is.
don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know, and it's why I'm here, I guess.
What we might do today is, if you feel comfortable, is just a little exercise.
Yeah.
And basically, I'm just going to say a word, and I don't want you to think too much about it. I just want to hear your automatic response. Basically, the idea of the exercise is to maybe just see if there's anything in your subconscious, because when we don't give ourselves time to think and we just,
sure.
give an automatic response, sometimes there can be some telling information that can give us something to work
sure.
off and give us some awareness into why we behave how we do. So if you don't mind, I'll take a few notes and we'll just do a couple, and if you feel uncomfortable at any stage, we can stop, but I think it could be something that might be helpful for us to have a go at.
Sure.
Sounds good?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, so the first word I'm going to say is work.
Success.
Yep.
Money.
Yeah.
Prestige.
Yep.
And drive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. And don't, if there's just one word, or don't
Oh,
feel the
yeah,
need to
okay.
elaborate, just whatever comes into your mind, but that's
sure.
really well done. Yep.
Yep.
Perfect. So what about home?
Keep it clean.
Yep.
Structure.
Yep.
And routine.
Great. What about relationships?
Control.
Yep.
Power and balance.
Yep.
That's about it.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah. And what about marriage?
Oh, dishonest.
Yeah.
Secret life.
Yeah.
Tug of war.
Yeah.
Always her. It's always her side. Her side.
Yep. That's really good. You do really, really well. And what about mother?
Controlling.
Yep.
Punishment.
Yep.
And unloving.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. And we'll just finally just do father.
Okay. It just kind of I didn't even really notice that my mother was unloving, and it's kind of put me in a funny space.
Okay, yeah.
That's right. So what was the word again?
No,
Father.
we'll just stick with
Yeah.
mother for the moment, so unloving, so you never kind of acknowledge that sense.
No, I haven't, no, not like this. Always had my suspicions
Yeah.
of mum. But yeah, like, I was always looking for attention, and I'd never get it from mum, or dad for that matter. Mum would give me the attention, but why I said unloving, or maybe why, I don't know. But she'd give it to me, but it would always feel false.
Okay, yeah.
So it was never really that love,
Yes.
so to speak, that was given. It felt a bit false, and so I was like,
Okay.
oh, what? That isn't the attention that I was asking for, and so that's
Yeah.
yeah,
So I'm hearing it didn't feel like sincere,
correct, yeah,
unconditional love,
Yeah.
more so just.
yeah, like it was always on her terms, love,
Okay.
yeah. So it wasn't it wasn't that unconditional.
Right, okay. And I'm wondering, in just the exercise we've gone through, are you kind of seeing any themes there that might maybe relate to your relationships today?
Maybe.
Mm.
Well, yeah, maybe. Having that control, the control one, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't like to see myself as a person that isn't loving.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe I am.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't. I just don't know how to do that.
Yeah. Something I picked up that I found interesting that you said is that you said you felt the love with your mother was on her terms, and just going back to our previous conversation with your ex-partner, you mentioned there was some terms that the relationship was based on, and I suppose something that I'd just like to talk to you about is in our early developmental stage, I suppose an easy way to explain it is children at that young age are narcissistic by nature, meaning, you know, we don't have the capacity to think what's going on for mom or dad and what's going on in their lives, in their heads. What we understand is mom and dad are stressed, it must be related to me, because we haven't developed that capacity to understand. And sometimes that can affect our self-esteem and give us a core belief that we can develop throughout our lives. And it can sometimes lead us to repeat a pattern in relationships, and sometimes gaining some awareness and doing some work around that can be really, really helpful if you think that's something that applies to you. Is that something that makes sense?
It does make sense.
Yeah. So you feel like there's kind of some awareness around that, or?
Well, just hearing that I've invested so much in marriage and that alone, and not having that other factors of life that I guess I need, and that self-esteem is just solely invested in the marriage. Is I think that needs to have some work on and some direction around. So
that's really positive, and I think that's great that you're motivated. You seem to have gotten a lot of awareness from this session and some perspective, and there's certainly a lot more exploration we could do. I think some goals for us to set maybe on a short term is to do some more exploration around this. I mean, we only touched the iceberg today, and you know, there's definitely a lot around there that we could look at and work through, and really help iron out some of the thoughts going on in your head and what's driving these behaviors that aren't necessarily adding any value to your life, and more so from what you're telling me, they're hindering you a little bit, and just to have some freedom from them and some more peace in your own life is something we could really work towards. And then, you know, in a long term, more of a long term goal, we could look at developing those strategies, so when we feel that pang of jealousy or you know, I'm not getting what I need, just there's lots of different ways we can look at it to have a toolkit there that you can not feel that you need to, you know, do self-defeating behaviors.
Where it leads to, that's where the anger comes. And it's like that automatic response when like when my needs aren't being met. Why aren't you catering for that?
Absolutely. And the more we can look at I suppose when we start to see the build up to that, the more we can put that pause in so it doesn't reach the point. So I think there's a lot of really positive work we can do, right?
Excellent.
And I think
well, I look forward to working more closely and more regularly with you.
Fantastic. So I would suggest a weekly session for the next 12 weeks, and then we'll reassess from there if you're happy with that.
I'm happy with that.
And if anything changes, we can go from there. We can have a discussion. All right.
No
Okay,
problem.
well, thanks so much for popping in today, and I
Yeah,
look forward
thanks
to
for your
seeing you
time,
next
Kate.
week.
Okay.
Alright, cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.